A man was stopped by a cop at around 3 o'clock in the morning. The cop walked up to him. He said, "Sir, where are you headed at this point of time?" "Officer, I'm headed to a lecture on alcohol consumption and the ill effects on the human body." "What? Really? Now, who's giving you a lecture at this point of time?" "That'll be my wife, officer. Contest chair, fellow Toastmasters and guests." How many of you had interesting cop episodes and had great stories to share? Fantastic. I had 3. The first story happened when I didn't own a car. The second story happened when I did own a car, but I didn't get to drive it. And the third story happened when I was driving a car. So let's get started with the first story. I was in my first job, and I was saving up for a down payment for a car. On a beautiful Friday night, 4 of us, young and single, we decided to go to a nightclub. Now, out of the 4, Ashwin was pure trouble. Let me tell you, Toastmasters, if you hung out with that guy, Ashwin, for a single day, you'll be done with your Toast storytelling manual within a month. So back at the nightclub, we drank, we danced, and we had a great time. At around 2 o'clock in the morning, we decided it's time to call it a day, and we stepped out of the nightclub and we were about to leave. As I was beginning to have a great moment, and I was like really thinking to myself, oh my God, this is the first day he didn't manage to get us all kicked out in the middle of the party. And I was really having great thoughts about the day. And that's when it happened. Ashwin, my crazy friend, started to run. Now I had to find out why he started to run, so I started chasing behind him. 15 minutes later, he slowed down a bit to catch his breath, and I caught up with him. Well, I was about to ask him, dude, what the hell is going on? Something came over my mind, and I started to run. So this time around, I was running, and this guy was chasing me for another 15 minutes. 30 minutes in, non-stop, and then both of us stopped to ask some meaningful question. Dude, what the hell was going on? And that's when it happened. 3 police cars blaring with sirens. They surrounded us, strategically placing 1, 2, 3, and 3 cops aiming their tasers at us, and they were good to go to chase us down to hell. What we didn't know for the past 30 minutes was some cop called it in saying that there were 2 maniacs out in the streets of San Jose, and there was an entire cavalry chasing us down. We somehow managed to explain what happened, or why we drank, what happened, why we were running, and somehow managed to get a ride back to our home. The night didn't stop yet. On our way back home, I noticed all of the equipments in the car. And I told to the officer, "Officer, is that the equipment you're using?" Now remember, he's giving me a ride, and he's giving Ashwin a ride back home. All right? So I'm questioning the officer why his equipments are outdated, and then I go on to tell him, "Officer, do you want to use my phone to get the directions? I mean, this is really disappointing with the PD. Come on, is this the UI which you guys are using?" On reflection, I shouldn't have asked the question. And to my question, he didn't respond, and I'm glad that he didn't respond. I clearly was stupid. My second story happened when I did own a car, but didn't drive it. This time around, I wanted some peace. I didn't want craziness, and I didn't want Ashwin to be with me at all. This time, I hung out with Pawan, another friend. Pawan was well-rounded, mentally and physically. And he had a distinct behavior. Every time before he speaks to you, he would laugh. It would be like, "Ha ha ha ha, dude, what's happening?" That's really funny. If you meet him in person, I'm sure you guys are going to have a great laugh about it. You know, the way he speaks. So back at the bar, we had a great time. We danced. We had a fantastic time socializing. But the one problem was we had a little too much to drink. As he was a better driver, I gave the car keys to him, and he gladly obliged. He was like, "Dude, you know what? I'm going to drive for you. I don't want you to drive, or both of us will be in the gates of heaven." Right? So he took the car keys from me, We pulled off from the parking lot, and we were heading home. I was beginning to have a great feeling about the night. No craziness, no Ashwin, it's just a bunch of guys, 2 guys, drunk and heading back home. And that's when it happened. At the intersection, instead of taking our lane and being on our lane, we went against the traffic. And we kept driving against the traffic. And in no time, the dreaded siren was again on. So the police officer approached Pawan and he asked him to roll down the window. Pawan went, "How are you doing, officer?" The next moment, he was on the road doing the drunk test. And in no time, he became a passenger in their vehicle. So basically, he went from driver to passenger. Now, while they were about to go, the other officer turned to me and he said, "Find somebody, call somebody, and get back home." All I heard was, "Call somebody and get back home." Now, what did I do? I jumped into the vehicle, into the driver's seat, and I was about to go. And soon enough, I became a passenger as well in the cop's car. My third story happened when I was driving. So right in front of the police station, I rented another car. And what car was it? It was a police car. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, I was surrounded. Fellow Toastmasters, the cops in my life made my life interesting. Reach out to the cops in your area to make your life interesting. Contest chair.